to have a son. My father made my mother lie on the butcher's block every day. The village butcher told him that the board was soaked in the masculine energy and grievances of boars, and that if they consummated their marriage there, even a sow could produce male piglets. That chopping block was cold and hard, and every time my mother lay on it, it felt like she was dying. Sure enough, my mother's belly soon began to grow, yet she gave birth to only my sister and me, 2 girls. My father was not satisfied. His goal was to have 10 boys, so he continued to take my mother to that block every day. But for several years, my mother's belly remained flat. Enraged, my father decisively divorced her. Years later, my mother remarried the prince of the north, Xiao Ce. My sister, greedy for wealth, chose to follow my mother into the prince's manor, living a life of luxury as a noble lady. Meanwhile, I stayed with my father and brother. Later, the emperor appointed my father as minister, and I, as the minister's daughter, was married off to the crown prince. My sister, however, was married off by the prince's manor to a lowly servant, where she suffered under her in-laws. Unhappily married, my sister returned home to weep to our father and brother. She was deeply resentful that I had married better than her, so on the day of my wedding she kidnapped me and dragged me off the city walls to our deaths. But when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time when my parents had just divorced. This time my sister spoke up first. I will stay with father. I would never betray my own blood for mere luxury. My father and brother were deeply moved. Then I shall follow mother to the prince's manor. My sister leaned into my ear and lowered her voice. You don't really think the prince's manor is a good place, do you? In her past life she had complained, saying the Dowager Princess was a mean-spirited, difficult old woman. The brothers were all cold and distant, without a shred of warmth, and the most annoying of all was the heir, with his unfathomable schemes, and viciously cruel, wearing a mask of kindness before others. I feigned confusion. A place so wealthy, could it really be that bad? You'll know once you go there. You silly girl. Don't look at how our family is down on its luck now. But in 3 years' time, our family will surely rise to great prosperity. I, for one, am destined to become the crown princess. Hearing this, I said no more. I wanted to see for myself in this life, without my help, how father and brothers will manage to rise to such prosperity. Inside the prince's estate, the Grand Dowager summoned me for the first time. I heard from inside the room a voice, aged and raspy. I come from a military family, and I've never raised a delicate young lady before. How should a young girl like this be properly raised? I am thinking that she should be pampered. Grandmother, the gift you prepared is too generous for a young girl like her. It might only become a burden. The one speaking was the heir, Xiao Yanzhi, the very person sister found so detestable. Yanzhi's words make sense as well. In that case, I will put away this box of banknotes for now. The Grand Dowager then instructed, Yanzhi, from now on, that young girl is your sister. You must treat her well. Grandmother is joking. As the eldest brother, I will naturally take good care of my younger sister. I still have official business at the office. I shall take my leave now. Footsteps approached. I lowered my eyes, seeing a pair of black boots with cloud pattern embroidery step out. The young man walked out, dressed in fine silks and a leather belt, wearing a red robe, which made him appear even more elegant and handsome. I hurried to curtsy and offer my respects. Blessings to you, elder brother. Miss Gu, there is no need for such formality. Your surname is Gu, and mine is Xiao. How could I possibly be your older brother? I lowered my head, staring at my embroidered slippers. I didn't take Xiao Yanzhi's words to heart. After all, I never expected that just by arriving here, I would be instantly liked by everyone. Instead, I maintained my bow as I saluted him, and changed my address. Blessings to you, Heir Apparent. Xiao Yanzhi said nothing more, and turned to leave. Only then did I allow my tensed body to relax, and hurriedly stepped inside to pay my respects to the Dowager. It is our first time meeting, and I wasn't sure what would be best to give you. I hear that young girls all like jewelry, so I prepared a pair of gold bracelets for you. I remembered when my sister brought these gold bracelets home. She called the Dowager stingy, complaining that gold was gaudy and not as elegant or refined as jade. She criticized the Dowager for coming from a military family, calling her crude and ignorant, without even the most basic sense of aesthetics. Yet, the things my sister despised, I never once got to wear in my past life. I looked down at the heavy gold bracelets on my wrists, then lifted my eyes to the Dowager. The elderly woman was sipping tea with her gaze lowered, yet her peripheral vision darted toward me, clearly nervous, as if terrified I wouldn't like these gold bracelets. I offered a sweet, obedient smile. Thank you, Dowager. Seeing that I was genuinely pleased, the Dowager breathed a quiet sigh of relief. I summoned you here today because I wanted to ask you, would you like to study at the White Crane Academy? The White Crane Academy was the finest school in the Southwest, accessible only to nobility and high-ranking families. Ordinary people had no way to enter. In my past life, when I learned my sister could attend the academy, I was incredibly envious, and once gathered the courage to approach her, begging to follow her as a maid just to listen to the lectures. But I was rejected by my sister. My sister said I was dim-witted, usually silent and soft-spoken, clumsy and dull, and would certainly never be able to learn anything. My brothers also mocked me for trying to imitate those above my station. They said that scholarship is a highly refined pursuit, something only elegant young ladies like my sister are worthy of. For someone as mute and dull as me, going there would only make me a laughingstock. I bowed in deference. Thank you for your guidance, Dowager Princess. Oh, look at you, thanking me over and over again. We are family now. Doesn't such formal talk make us seem distant? Besides, you should change how you address me and call me grandmother. I curved my eyes into a smile and clearly called out, grandmother. 2 days later, I boarded the carriage bound for Baihei Academy. Xiao Chen'an was in the carriage with me. Xiao Chen'an is the youngest son of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate, 1 year older than me, and at a very mischievous age. I lifted the carriage curtain and noticed that Xiao Yanzhi was there too. It is your first day of school, and grandmother was worried, so she specifically arranged for your eldest brother to escort you. Gu Yao, are you feeling very pleased with yourself? I ignored his snide remarks and looked towards Xiao Yanzhi. He was mounted on a tall, powerful steed. He was likely heading to the government office after dropping us off. Dressed in a crisp, dark red official's robe, noticing my gaze, Xiao Yanzhi turned his head calmly to look at me. His eyes fell upon my hands. Due to the way I held the curtain, my sleeve had slid down halfway, revealing the gold bracelet on my wrist. Miss Gu's new bracelet is very beautiful. I frowned. Though it was a compliment, there was a hint of mockery in his tone, as if he were ridiculing me for being vain and greedy for wealth. After letting the curtain drop, I silently took off those 2 gold bracelets. My sister's other words might be questionable, but she said Xiao Yanzhi has 2 faces. One for when people are looking and one for when they aren't, and that he is the most annoying person in the estate. That, it seems, was not wrong at all. When Xiao Yanzhi dropped me off at the academy, it caused quite a stir. He is strikingly handsome and deeply admired by the young ladies. Ignoring the restlessness of the students, I picked up my bag and walked into the schoolhouse. My foundation is too weak. Baihei Academy holds examinations every month. Before I could even make up for the lessons I'd missed, the exams began. I ranked last. Xiao Chen'an ranked second to last. In the carriage back to the manor, Xiao Chen'an was full of smug delight. You carry your books everywhere you go. I thought you were actually brilliant. I never expected you to be even worse than me. Now, this is great. With you at the bottom, father won't scold me anymore. The carriage rolled down the main street. Hearing the familiar sound of horse hooves, Xiao Chen'an pulled back the curtain and saw Xiao Yanzhi returning from his duties. Eldest brother, I'm finally not in last place this time. Gu Yao ranked last. Father will definitely lash her with a whip and force her to reflect while facing the wall. Xiao Yanzhi held the reins, his voice calm and gentle. Gu Yao ranked last. I silently clutched my examination paper, my eyes slowly welling up with tears, seeing my red eyes. Xiao Chen'an looked surprised. Gu Yao, you're not crying, are you? Just because you didn't do well. It was as if he'd stumbled upon some rare phenomenon. He leaned out of the carriage and shouted, eldest brother, Gu Yao did poorly and she is crying. My cheeks burned with embarrassment, and I grabbed Xiao Chen'an's arm. What are you shouting about? Perhaps because both our grades were so poor. Xiao Chen'an suddenly felt a sense of camaraderie. He patted my head. Don't you worry. When we get home later, if father beats you, I'll definitely stand up for you. Thinking of the 4th young master of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate in my past life, who would soon have his legs crushed by a collapsing restaurant, turning him from a dashing, high-spirited youth into a broken man with no will to live. I couldn't help but clench my handkerchief. Maybe I can help Xiao Chen'an avoid this disaster. Back at the prince's estate, Xiao Chen'an was yelping as he was beaten, scrambling all over the courtyard. It is not fair, father. She came in dead last. Why am I the one getting hit? Xiao Ce, 8 feet tall, with a broad, imposing frame, swung his ruler, so angry his mustache bristled. She is new here, so what if she did poorly? She can place whatever she wants. I've hired so many tutors to coach you, and you still managed to score like that, damn it. I stood on the sidelines, quietly watching the bamboo shoot stir-fry punishment. Once Xiao Ce was tired from hitting him, he gave me a shy, honest smile. Pardon the display. Is mother still ill? My mother had claimed illness and stayed hidden ever since she married in, never interacting with the dowager or the other women in the house. and taking no interest in me, the child she brought with her. I feel that mother never really liked me, or my brother and sister. Your mother has a weak constitution. I've already invited a miraculous doctor to treat her. The doctor says she needs peace and rest. You and the fourth one go to grandmother's courtyard for dinner. When Xiao Chen'an and I arrived at Wansong courtyard, Xiao Yanzhi had already arrived. The dowager had me sit right beside her. Why aren't you wearing the pair of gold bracelets I gave you? Do you not like them? I touched my empty wrists, glancing out of the corner of my eye at Xiao Yanzhi. He was dining with elegant, refined manners. I didn't say it was because of Xiao Yanzhi that I stopped wearing them. The gold bracelets grandmother gave me are too valuable. I was afraid I might lose them if I wore them, so I took them off. Oh, you child. If you lose them, you lose them. It's not as if we can't afford to replace them. She called for Nanny Chen. Nanny Chen handed me a silk-covered box. These were part of Her Highness's dowry. There are no young ladies in this estate, and there has been no opportunity to use them all these years. It is only fitting to give them to you, miss. Inside the box was a pair of gold ruyi bracelets with flower engravings, and a gold hair tassel. They were all made of solid gold. The engravings were delicate, smooth, and brilliant. One look told you they were worth a fortune. Grandmother. Why should Gu Yao rank last and not have to face the ruler but receive a reward instead? I won't accept it. She is a young girl, delicate and precious. How could she possibly be punished? You, on the other hand, have thick skin. A few beatings won't hurt you. Besides, you are a boy. What would you want with gold bracelets and a gold tassel anyway? Are you going to wear them? This is our family's property. How can we just let an outsider take it? Grandmother, I don't agree with her sharing our family inheritance. The dowager was so furious that she couldn't catch her breath. She grabbed her dragon-headed cane, ready to strike him. As we left the Wansong courtyard, the sky had turned completely dark. I wanted to head back to my own quarters, but I bumped into Xiao Yanzhi in the corridor. I clutched the silk-covered box and curtsied. Greetings, Heir Apparent. Grandmother is very fond of Miss Gi. I remained in my curtsy, knowing full well that Xiao Yanzhi did not welcome me, nor did he welcome my mother. In my past life, my sister was hastily married off to a minor official. It is hard to say that Xiao Yanzhi didn't have a hand in that. I only wanted to leave that old home of mine, read some poetry, and live a quiet life. I never sought the wealth of this manor. Since the heir apparent is displeased, I am willing to return the dowager's gift. Xiao Yanzhi did not take it. With a mock smile, Miss Gi, you are joking. I have never been displeased. Since these are gifts from grandmother, Xiao Yanzhi slowly reached out his hand and pressed it onto the brocade box. Miss Gi, you must take good care of them. Do not lose them, lest you chill grandmother's heart. The spring night was silent. With a sudden splash, the brocade box was tossed by Xiao Yanzhi into the pond outside the corridor. I jerked my head up, only to see him slowly raise his chin with a smile. Don't you agree, Miss Gi? I gritted my teeth and had no choice but to call for a few servants to help me fish it out. How could it be that you would let the grand concubine's gift fall into the pond, Miss Gem? I caught a glimpse of Xiao Yanzhi out of the corner of my eye. It was my own carelessness. My hand slipped. Xiao Yanzhi let out a sound, an ambiguous, mocking snort. After returning to my room, my maid Qingdai came to report, Miss, the three young masters of the Giyu family are waiting at the back gate, saying they wish to see you. I walked to the back gate. All three brothers were indeed there. We heard you started attending White Crane Academy. It is all over, Rongcheng. You ranked second to last. You don't have the aptitude for study, so why bother joining in the crowd? The three of us have talked it over. You should give your spot to Wan Wan. Wan Wan has studied music, chess, calligraphy, and painting since childhood. If she goes to White Crane Academy, she certainly won't embarrass our family. I watched them quietly. In my previous life, my father and brothers always said I harmed my sister while in the womb, so I had to yield to her in everything. But I never felt I owed my sister anything, because the old nanny at the county office let it slip once. It was the three brothers who didn't take good care of my sister. They carried her out to see the plum blossoms in the dead of winter, causing her to catch a severe cold while still in her swaddling clothes, which led to her chronic illness, leaving her frail and sickly for years. Yet they blamed it all on me. I stood on the steps, my expression shifting. You're right, brothers. The family's best resources should always go to my sister first. About time you showed some sense. You aren't as smart as Wan Wan, so studying is just a waste. You should have given it up long ago. You're doing the right thing, Yao Yao. That is our good sister. I've decided. Tomorrow you'll go tell the grand consort that you no longer wish to study, and that you're giving the opportunity to your sister. I clutched my handkerchief, thinking these people still believe that I am the same Gu Yao from my past life who obeyed them blindly, willing to risk my life for just a word of their praise. The Grand Consort is very fond of me. During the family banquet today, she specifically told me that she was worried I wouldn't adjust to the academy and said I could bring my sister along to study. A cold light flashed in my eyes. The Grand Consort also said that because I've been so filial to her, she would grant me an extra spot for me to arrange for one of my brothers to enter the White Crane Academy. Of course, the Grand Consort never said any of this. I made it all up. But they have no chance to meet the Grand Consort, so there is no way for them to verify it. But since I have 3 brothers, I'm not sure which one I should choose. Those who get into the White Crane Academy are all children of wealthy and influential officials in Shu County. My family, with a mere 9th-rank magistrate, isn't even close to that threshold. The 3 of them stood rooted to the spot. Clearly, they all wanted to go. I think it should be me. Gu Siyun gave a light cough. Big brother, this matter must be reported to father and discussed further. That is right, Big brother. Do you intend to take this spot all for yourself? Do I look like that kind of person? The 3 agreed to give me an answer in a few days, then went off arguing noisily. Just as I was about to turn back, I suddenly heard a soft scoff. Just as I was about to turn back, I suddenly heard a soft scoff. I saw Xiao Yanzhi leaning against his steed with his arms crossed. I wondered how long he had been watching the show. There was business at the yamen, so I had to head out for a bit. I didn't expect that upon returning I would catch such an interesting performance. 2 peaches to kill 3 men. Truly amusing. 2 peaches to kill 3 men. It is often used to describe sowing discord and using others to do one's dirty work. Xiao Yanzhi had just exposed my schemes. My hands hanging at my sides could not help but curl into fists. After a long silence, I lowered my eyes and bowed my head, giving a formal salute. My greetings, Your Grace. I am not well read, having placed nearly last in my studies, so I do not understand what 2 peaches to kill 3 men means, and therefore have no idea what Your Grace is talking about. I did not want to offend Xiao Yanzhi, but he wasn't buying it. He led his horse past me, and a strange, unsettling scent washed over me. I noticed a peculiar lantern hanging by the saddle. The frame was made of bones, covered in a thin, ghastly piece of skin. As the grease burned, a pale, sickly light bled through. I was so terrified I took 2 steps back. I saw the seemingly gentle and humble prince slowly lean toward me. Is my new lantern pretty? I didn't dare make a sound, shivering uncontrollably all over. Xiao Yanzhi patted my head, like an older brother affectionately comforting a younger sister. Yet his voice sounded dangerously chilling in my ear. Miss Gu, if I ever see you using these devious schemes within the manor, I promise I will turn you into another lantern. I caught a chill that night and fell slightly ill for 2 days. Qingdai took care of me as I drank my medicine, and she touched my forehead again. The fever's gone. Oh, by the way, miss, the Gi family just sent someone to pass on a message. They said they've reached a decision, naming the eldest young master and young lady to attend the White Crane Academy. I wasn't surprised by this result. I glanced at the dim sky outside. Did Xiao Chen'an leave the manor today? Yes, the 4th young master went to dine at Jinweijai. I immediately rolled out of bed. Let's go too. I remember that in my past life this was the day Xiao Chen'an met with disaster. After I hurried to Jinweijai, I was led into a private room by the shopkeeper. I saw Xiao Chen'an sitting among a group of young officials. What are you doing here? I just happened to be passing by and heard that my brother was here, so I came in to take a look. Who's your brother? Gu Yao, let me tell you, don't even think about fighting me for the family inheritance. I mentioned it, appearing offhand. I heard Jinweijai is a century-old establishment. What about it? Gu Yao, don't tell me you're trying to squeeze me and make me treat you to a meal in your dreams. I cut off his nonsense. It rained for 20 days straight last month. Many old wooden buildings in Rong City have fallen into disrepair. They've become waterlogged and collapsed. I wonder if Jinweijai has been undergoing its monthly maintenance. The private room went quiet for a moment. Well, about that. Why does this crossbeam look a bit crooked to me? Suddenly, a thunderclap erupted outside the window. Everyone jumped in fright. Even Xiao Chen'an sobered up a bit. When was your last maintenance check? 3 years ago. Though Xiao Chen'an is frivolous, he still knows right from wrong. He flipped the table right over. Xiao Chen'an is a royal descendant. The manager knew he was in the wrong and dared not say a word to him, having no choice but to quickly clear out the restaurant. Not long after everyone had left, the century-old restaurant came crashing down within the curtain of rain. Xiao Chen'an stood across the street, staring blankly at the rising dust. If not for my warning, he would likely be buried inside at this very moment. Back home, he gave a light cough. Gu Yao, thanks a lot for this time. I thought you were just one of those social climbing, vain little girls. I didn't expect you to have such a kind heart. I gave a faint smile. I didn't really do anything. Regardless, I owe you a favor. Gu Yao, I declare, I officially accept you into the prince's estate. From now on, you're under my protection. When the Dowager Princess heard about what happened at Jinweijai, she quickly summoned the two of them to Wansong Courtyard. Acting as if he were in a play, Xiao Chen'an took bold, dramatic strides, performing every detail for the Dowager Princess to see. I had just walked out of Jinweijai when I heard the sound of a beam collapsing behind me. Gu Yao cried out that there were still people inside. I looked back, and hey, guess what happened? I looked back and, hey, guess what happened? I looked at Xiao Chen'an with a helpless expression. Actually, I was just passing by the restaurant and gave the manager a little reminder. We had barely left when the restaurant collapsed. Fortunately, it was a close call and no one was hurt. Gu Yao, you really are so boring. The Dowager Princess took my hand. Thanks to you this time, Chen'an's life was saved by you. From now on, you are a benefactor of our estate. I truly don't know how to thank you. Grandmother, you are too kind. You told me just last time that we are one family. Since we are family, then why speak of thanks? Hearing this, the dowager consort looked at me with increasing affection. The spring rain fell like fine powder in the gathering dusk. The maids lit the lanterns along the veranda. The amber light illuminated the young man leaning against a pillar. It was Xiao Yanzhi. He stared at the floor, not looking up. Miss Gi Yu, how did you know that Jinweijai hadn't been inspected in 3 years? I didn't know at the time. I just noticed the crossbeam was slightly crooked, and remembering the wooden building collapse last month, I asked the manager just to be safe. Miss Gu has a keen eye to have spotted a crooked beam. With so many people coming and going at Jinweijai, why was it only Miss Gu who noticed? I fingered my sleeve and looked up at him. Are you interrogating me, my lord? Or perhaps, my lord thinks I tampered with it beforehand and then purposefully stepped in to save the 4th young master, just to win the favor of the dowager and the 4th young master. But I am merely a 14-year-old girl, incapable of such deep-seated schemes. Xiao Yanzhi asked with a playful, mocking tone. Are you? Just as the tension reached its peak, Xiao Chen'an ran in with a tray of fresh pastries. Gu Yao, try these. These jujube cakes from grandmother's courtyard are better than anywhere else. I took a deep breath, suppressing my irritation toward Xiao Yanzhi, and picked up a cake. Thank you, 4th young master. Xiao Chen'an shyly scratched his head. Oh, why are you calling me 4th young master? Just call me 4th brother. After my mother passed away, father never remarried. Then he suddenly married your mother, and I couldn't accept it for a while, so I ended up disliking you too. But now I know you're a good person, so I don't dislike you anymore. I'm willing to be a brother to you. Under the moonlight, the boy's eyes were shining bright, like a proud puppy that has just been patted on the head. All right, 4th brother. Xiao Yanzhi scoffed lightly. He turned slowly, pretending he was about to leave. Only then did Xiao Chen'an notice that he was there too. Big brother, do you want one too? I have matters to attend to at the magistrate's office. Xiao Yanzhi picked up the cloak handed to him by a maid and walked straight out of Wansong Courtyard. After he left, Xiao Chen'an pulled me over furtively. Grandmother's 60th birthday is next month. What are you planning to give her? I curled my fingers inward. I didn't have much cash on hand. I couldn't afford a valuable gift at all. Actually, I'm not well off either. Father is always cutting my allowance. The gift I buy surely won't compare to those of my 3 older brothers. Gu Yao, how about we pool our money and buy one gift together? The next day, Xiao Chen and I went to the most famous jewelry shop on Koi Street. Xiao Chen picked up a hairpin and held it up against my hair. You look good in this. I had never seen such an exquisite silver hairpin. Let me see. Gu Wan walked over gracefully, with Gu Silai following behind her. I hadn't expected to run into them here. Older sister, 3rd brother. Xiao Chen'an perked up his ears, his gaze sweeping critically over Gu Silai. Gu Wan smiled softly. Yao Yao, I saw this butterfly silver hairpin first. Gu Silai snatched the silver hairpin away. Gu Yao, why must you always fight your sister for everything? Your sister saw this hairpin the moment she entered the shop, yet you're the one who grabbed it. Xiao Chen'an was so angry, he laughed. He snatched the silver hairpin back. Who the hell are you two? How dare you snatch things from my sister's hands? Are you tired of living? Only then did Gu Wan notice Xiao Chen'an. She couldn't help but be stunned. In her previous life, this 4th young master never even looked at her properly, let alone treated her like a sister. But in this life, why would Xiao Chen'an protect Gu Yao? Xiao Chen'an's expression was arrogant. Who do you think I am? Gu Yao, you tell them. Who am I? Third brother. He is the fourth young master of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate, Xiao Chen'an. However, Xiao Chen'an was very dissatisfied with my introduction. He pinched my sleeve. That is not how you called me last night. I looked at Xiao Chen'an and added helplessly, you are my fourth brother at the estate. Xiao Chen'an remained dissatisfied. Their family has 3 brothers. Our estate has 4 brothers. If we just call them by order, how are we supposed to tell them apart? I thought about it and added a surname. You are fourth brother Xiao. Xiao Chen'an rolled his eyes. That sounds terrible. Gu Yao, if you can't come up with a better name, I won't let this go today. Then, fourth brother. Xiao Chen'an's lips curled into a smile instantly. That will barely do. The way we were whispering to each other did not escape Gu Silaya's notice. He clenched his fists tightly in the dark, a strange feeling surging within his chest. Gu Yao, now that you've climbed high up, do you look down on your own brothers and sisters? Before mother went to the estate, she told sister and me to choose who would go with her. I only got what sister didn't want. How did it become me climbing high? You dare to talk back now. I think you've become conceited after entering the estate, forgetting who you really are. Gu Yao, if you don't want me to hate you, go home and wash my clothes right now. Besides what is soaking in the wash basin, wash the rest of the clothes in my closet too. If they're washed well, I might forgive you. On the balcony upstairs, Xiao Yanzhi stands with his hands behind his back, looking down coldly at the commotion below. Just as I was about to refuse, Xiao Chen'an suddenly cursed with great anger. Screw you. He lunged forward and kicked Gu Silaya to the ground. Gu Silay clutched his chest, grimacing in pain, barely able to get back up. Third brother, are you all right? My third brother is being beaten, and you're just standing there watching. Gu Silay sneered. Now that she has climbed up the social ladder, she doesn't even look at us anymore. Such an ungrateful, white-eyed wolf. After our family raised her for over a decade too. Gu Yao, if you have any guts, never come back to the Gu house. We don't want a sister like you. My expression remained indifferent, recalling my childhood, when my father and brothers often threatened me with the same words, saying that if I didn't listen, they wouldn't want me anymore. When I was 6 years old, I stared longingly at my sister's candied hawthorn, fussing because I wanted to eat one too. My eldest brother, impatient, scolded me, saying, no other little girl is as gluttonous as you. So ignorant. You don't even know the meaning of modesty. And so they took my sister into the carriage and left me all alone on a strange street. I chased after the carriage desperately, falling to the ground time and time again. Even with my knees and palms scraped raw, I kept scrambling up to continue the chase. Coming back to my senses, I calmly lifted my eyelashes. I will never return to the Gu house again. Coming back to my senses, I calmly lifted my eyelashes. I will never return to the Gu house again. Gu Silai was stunned for a moment, assuming I was just speaking out of spite. It's only been a few days, and you've already learned how to use your sharp tongue. Do you want me to lower my head and coax you? Just like I do with Wan, is that it? Let me tell you. Don't even think about it. In my heart, you will never compare to Wan, but I did not show the heartbroken expression he had expected. I simply looked at the brushes, ink paper, and inkstone that Gu Wan was holding. Sister, is your trip to the market today for purchasing supplies for the Baihe Academy? Yes. Third brother specially accompanied me. He used his own savings to buy all these things for me. Third brother is so good to you. But since there are only 2 spots for the Baihe Academy, sister, why don't you consider how kind third brother has been to you and give your spot to him instead? Before they could react, I grabbed Xiao Chen'an's sleeve and walked away. Gu Wan clutched the brushes and paper tightly, as if she were holding a hot potato. She looked at Gu Silai with hesitation. Gu Silai squeezed his fists tightly. For some reason, the way I called Xiao Chen'an, fourth brother, really seemed to irritate him, as if he were about to lose something. Xiao Chen'an and I had already stepped out of the jewelry shop. Xiao Chen'an was in high spirits, placing the silver hairpin into my hair bun. It looks truly beautiful. You spent all your money on a silver hairpin. What about grandmother's birthday gift? We'll think of something else. As we spoke, Xiao Yanzhi stepped out. His gaze landed on my hair bun, and he calmly lowered his brow and eyes. Big brother Gu Yao and I are picking out a birthday gift for grandmother. It's just that we are a bit short on cash right now. Could you lend us some money? I promise I will pay you back later. Once he finished, he leaned into my ear and whispered, Big brother is loaded. If we borrow it, we borrow it. Don't bother paying him back. If he keeps asking, we'll just pretend we don't owe it. Xiao Yanzhi mounted his horse. The value of a birthday gift lies in the sincerity, not the price tag. If you're short on cash, third brother, you could always take up lion dancing. You could roll around at the banquet, do a few somersaults, and that would be enough to please grandmother. As for me, He lowered his gaze to look at me. Whatever Miss Gu intends to give, she will have to find her own way. Don't worry, Gu Yao. I certainly wouldn't leave you to do the lion dance alone. I am your fourth brother after all. I will stand by your side no matter what. I squeezed my handkerchief. You go ahead and do the lion dance. I've already thought of what to give. Although I'm not good at embroidering flowers, birds, or figures, I can certainly embroider characters. I plan to ask someone to write a birthday blessing, and then use a needle and thread to embroider the words. To make a decorative screen, that is simple enough. As it happens, the estate study has a large collection of calligraphy. I'll take you to pick one out, and you can see whose style you like. The study at the Prince of Zhenbei's estate was filled with books. The walls were covered in calligraphy and paintings. I looked through them one by one until I chose one. Whose writing is this? That is my eldest brother's. Look, his seal is right here. Do you want me to ask my brother to write the blessing for you? So, you actually like my brother's handwriting? I don't. His handwriting isn't very good. Oh look, there are a few more over there. He led me around the bookshelf, only to bump into Xiao Yanzhi sitting calmly by the window. The young man slowly closed the book in his hands. He lifted his eyes slowly, and on that striking face of his, a gentle smile appeared. My handwriting isn't very good. I suppose Miss Go's writing must be excellent then. I lowered my eyes, staring at the tips of my embroidered shoes. My calligraphy is not good, but the heir's calligraphy is excellent. Yet, I just heard you say, the heir must have misheard. Xiao Chen'an looked at me with admiration. To lie right to my brother's face, and still remain completely composed. His younger sister is quite talented, so in that case, you really want me to write your birthday dedication? Yes, I really do. Xiao Yanzhi pretended to look very regretful. However, I am quite busy with official business these days, so I am afraid I have no time to write it for you. I gritted my teeth in anger. This man is like a lunatic. Knowing full well I had no intention of asking him to write it, he still insisted on refusing me to my face just to have the last word. How petty. The next day, as our carriage with Xiao Chen'an reached the gates of the academy, we heard a commotion. After stepping out of the carriage, Xiao Chen'an remarked with a sarcastic tone, Gu Yao, who is that brother of yours? The ones causing the scene were Gu Saifeng and Gu Wan. They had come to report to White Crane Academy today. Who would have guessed they were being blocked by the academy staff? I walked forward. Brother, sister, you've come just in time. These servants insist that we aren't students here and won't let us inside. Hurry and clear this up with them. All around us, students were watching the spectacle, either wealthy young masters or daughters of officials. They whispered among themselves, as if they were laughing at them. Seeing my silence, Gu Saifeng couldn't help but lecture me. Yao Yao, say something. Brother taught you to be open and confident in public. Have you forgotten? Look at your sister. So poised and graceful, so easy to like. Why are you not even half as good as her? I lower my head. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? The truth is, grandmother never authorized you to study at White Crane Academy. I lied to you. The truth is, grandmother never authorized you to study at White Crane Academy. I lied to you. Gu Saifeng's eyes widen in shock. Why? Because Big Brother kept forcing me to give up my opportunity to study to Big Sister. But I really couldn't bear to. Back when we were at home, Big Sister could study music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, while I was only allowed to do her laundry and cooking. I barely even knew how to read. But Big Brother, I really wanted to better myself, so I made up a lie. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. I cover my face and run into the academy crying. Gu Saifeng is left standing there. Dumbstruck, the students nearby come to their senses, unable to stop whispering among themselves, pointing and judging. You've got to be kidding. They're both younger sisters, yet one is treated like a lady, and the other like a servant. How can anyone be so biased? Lacking the ability himself, yet forcing his sister to give up her chance for the other. Have they no shame? Accusations fly from every direction. Gu Saifeng's face turns bright red, filled with shame and rage, as he hastily grabs Gu Wan and sneaks away. Not until they are far away does he speak with resentment. Gu Yao has truly gone too far. Gu Wan, panting heavily, her eyes red-rimmed. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, Big Brother wouldn't have been humiliated like that. We can't count on Gu Yao anymore. I think our chance to study. We still have to beg Mother. I hear Mother is well favored by the Prince of Zhenbei. If she just says a few good words in the prince's ear. The prince will surely agree to send us to the White Crane Academy. After the siblings spent a great deal of effort, they finally secured the chance to enter the White Crane Academy. When Gu Saifeng brought Gu Wan to the girls' class, I was just speaking with the girl who wrote the best calligraphy in class. Yao, it is not that I don't want to help you write a birthday greeting, but my penmanship is only passable within our own class. If it were to be used as a birthday gift, it would fall far short of the mark. There are so many great masters of calligraphy in this world. My writing would only be like showing off before an expert, making a fool of myself. I looked at her writing. The young girl's characters were elegant and pretty, but when compared to Xiao Yanzhi's script, they were indeed far inferior. It wouldn't be appropriate to give this to the Dowager consort for her 60th birthday. You don't think I'm preparing a birthday gift for you, do you? After the way you played Wan and me for fools these past 2 days, did you really think I'd invite you to my birthday celebration? That was when I remembered. Next month is also Gu Saifeng's birthday. In my previous life, I would always spend a month in advance carefully preparing a gift for him. In this life, however, I had forgotten. Yao, why aren't you apologizing to your big brother yet? If by that time, you really can't attend Big Brother's birthday banquet, you'll be crying your eyes out in a panic again. I was just about to explain that I was preparing a birthday gift for the prince's dowager consort. Even if she cried herself to death in front of me, I wouldn't soften my heart. Someone as selfish as her doesn't deserve to be my sister at all. I raised an eyebrow, too lazy to deal with him, and went straight back to my seat to review my lessons. In the afternoon, there was a newly added riding and archery class. I changed into my riding gear and headed to the stables 2/4 of an hour early. When I arrived at the stables, I happened to brush past the stable boy who was feeding the horses. I found my horse, which was a small snow-white mare. It was bowing its head to eat fodder. Suddenly, a familiar voice drifted over. I have been invited by the headmaster to teach your riding and archery class. I drew my gaze away from the little white horse. I looked up in surprise at the young man riding toward us. Exclamations erupted from those around me. Xiao Yanzhi was the heir to the prince's estate. The excitement of the young ladies was visibly soaring. Some even crowded around me, whispering as they asked about Xiao Yanzhi's interests. Gu Wan covered her mouth and giggled. There is no need to ask my sister, she said. Although she followed our mother into the prince's estate, how could it be easy for someone like her to be accepted by the young lord of the manor? I'm afraid my sister has never even had a private conversation with the young heir, let alone gotten to know him. I ignored Gu Wan, focusing my attention on listening to Xiao Yanzhi's lecture. I mounted the horse following the steps he had taught us. Suddenly, a young noblewoman in the back row screamed. Her horse had been spooked for no reason, and it bolted away with her on its back. Suddenly, a young noblewoman in the back row screamed. Her horse had been spooked for no reason, and it bolted away with her on its back. Xiao Yanzhi reacted the fastest, leaping onto his horse. He spurred his mount and gave chase in an instant, but for some reason, the steed beneath him suddenly went wild. It reared up violently while at full gallop, whinnying as it tried to throw him off. Xiao Yanzhi's expression remained calm. Seeing that he couldn't control the horse, he decisively drew a dagger and struck it deep into the horse's neck with speed and precision. The horse let out a pained cry and crashed to the ground while still at a full run. I saw Xiao Yanzhi walk back to the spot and pick up a small, sharp stone. It must have been this small stone that caused the noblewoman's horse to panic. Xiao Yanzhi tucked the small stone away. His confidant Mo Shan came over to report. My lord, I just examined the horse you were riding. Samoni drugged it, causing the animal to lose control and go berserk. I remembered the stable boy carrying a bucket, whom I had passed on my way into the stables. I looked at Xiao Yanzhi and said earnestly, I think I may have seen the person who poisoned it. Xiao Yanzhi summoned all the grooms from the White Crane Academy, asking me to identify him. I scanned the crowd, then shook my head. He is not among them. Could it be? Xiao Yanzhi raised his hand to silence him. He looked at me. Since you have seen the person, Miss Gu, please accompany me back to the yamen. I will have the clerk draw a portrait based on your description. At the magistrate's office, the clerk finished the portrait and asked me to take a look. I looked over at the sound and couldn't help but marvel at the clerk's skill. You've drawn him very accurately. This is exactly what he looks like. When night fell, just as I was about to retire for the night, Qingdai suddenly came in to report. Young Miss, the heir apparent says he has found the culprit. He asks you to come identify him. By the time I arrived at the suburban morgue, I discovered that the man was already dead. There were many corpses laid out in the main hall, and the air was thick with the stench of decay. I covered my nose and mouth with my sleeve, following closely behind Xiao Yanzhi. We soon reached one of the bodies. A man was already standing by the corpse. We soon reached one of the bodies. A man was already standing by the corpse. He held a candlestick, his snow-white silk robe making him look poised and elegant. There was a faint smile on his face, and a small vermilion mark between his brows. Like a bodhisattva sitting high upon a lotus throne, you've arrived. His voice was soft and gentle, his gaze landing upon me. This one must be our new little sister. Hello, little sister. I am your second brother. My body stiffened. So this man was the second son of the Prince of Zhenbei. Xiao Jingchen, take a look. Is this the same person from earlier today? I glanced at the corpse, my face turning pale instantly, and quickly looked away. That is him, yes. Xiao Jingchen set down the candlestick and put on deer leather gloves, beginning to examine the body. The foul stench made my eyes sting, and unable to help it, I covered my mouth and rushed outside to retch. Suddenly, a soft chuckle came from behind me. Xiao Jingchen appeared, holding the candlestick, and handed me a bowl of water. Rinse your mouth. Thank you, second brother. I took it cautiously, terrified of touching his hand. The smile on Xiao Jingchen's Guanyin-like face deepened. You were very brave, little sister. I admire you, second brother. Xiao Jingchen's admiring gaze lingered on my face. You are quite beautiful, little sister, with such delicate skin. There has never been a corpse in this mortuary as pretty as you. His words made me recoil in terror, but he looked toward Xiao Yanzhi with longing. Brother, I want her. She is not for you. Brother, I want her. She is not for you. Xiao Yanzhi shielded me behind him. Very well, how should the body be handled? Send it to Yangcheng. Back in the carriage, I cautiously lifted a corner of the curtain. Xiao Jingchen stood in the wind, holding the candlestick. Safe travels, little sister. Come visit again soon. Terrified, I immediately lowered the curtain. By the dim light of the glass lantern, I looked at Xiao Yanzhi. Doesn't he go back to the manor? He rarely returned to the manor. I felt a bit perplexed. Xiao Jingchen was clearly the second young master of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate, yet living in a mortuary was truly bizarre. The carriage traveled some distance. I looked at Xiao Yanzhi hesitantly. Did I help you tonight? Xiao Yanzhi turned his head to look at me. He said nothing else, just gave a faint Then, since I've done the heir a favor, could I ask you to do one for me? Write a birthday blessing. I've already thought of the content. It is only a few dozen characters. I'd like the heir to transcribe it for me if you would. Once upon a time. I looked at the birthday blessing Qingdai had brought back, and my brows relaxed. Xiao Yanzhi's handwriting was vigorous and sharp, grand and imposing, even among famous calligraphers. It is truly one of a kind. Using this as a birthday gift, it certainly won't be embarrassing. I buried myself in my studies every day, and practiced calligraphy when I was tired. I didn't have to manage household chores for my father and brothers, or scheme for my own future. My days were peaceful like never before. I had moved up a dozen places in the most recent exam. When the teacher announced the results, I was actually one place ahead of Gu Wan. After class, Gu Saifeng came to pick up Gu Wan. His expression was rather grim. Wan, I failed this time. Bai He Academy gathers the elite. Since we are newcomers, it's only natural to have a bad result or two. Eldest brother, do not grieve. How did Wan do? She surely did much better than Gu Yao, right? We told her not to come here and embarrass herself, but she wouldn't listen. She even thought we were trying to harm her. I let out a laugh. Only then did Gu Saifeng notice I was still in the classroom. What are you laughing at? I stood up straight. I scored slightly higher than my sister. Gu Wan spends her days dressing up, busy playing around at the academy, waiting only to become the crown princess in the capital in 3 years. Her mind was never truly on her studies. I know you scored better than me, but you don't have to show off like that. Guc comforted her tenderly, before turning to rebuke me. Don't you know your sister's health is delicate? Rubbing salt in her wounds right to her face. Gu Yao, have you no conscience? The lessons I taught you about brotherhood and respect, and the virtues of modesty and love, have you forgotten them all? First, you were the ones who brought up the exam results. Second, this modesty and love you speak of, brother, it has only ever been expected of me. When have you ever shown me any consideration? You are our little sister. We have always yielded to you since you were a child, and doted on you. It is only because you are so unruly and stubborn, always making us angry, that we have to discipline you so often. It is all for your own good. I am making the decision. Apologize to your sister at once, and we will consider this matter closed. I ignored him, picked up the birthday poem spread on the desk, and prepared to head home. Gu Saifeng, however, rushed over in a few strides. He slammed his hand down onto the poem. Apologize to your sister. I looked up and stared at him, my gaze cold and heartless. Gu Saifeng felt a jolt in his chest, suddenly feeling a sense of estrangement from the person before him, as if I were no longer that little sister who loved and looked up to them. His eyes swept over the birthday poem. Gu Saifeng paused, Stunned, he softened his tone. You have been preparing a birthday gift for me all this time. I pried his fingers off and tucked the poem into my bag. It is not for you. I pried his fingers off and tucked the poem into my bag. It is not for you. I saw it all. My birthday is within these few days. You meant to surprise me, didn't you? Yao, listen, your big brother knows you're not a bad person. You're just far too jealous and competitive. Your sister's health is delicate. You can't always be so aggressive, provoking her. I'm putting my foot down. From now on in your studies, you are to yield to your sister. You are not allowed to outrank her again. Do you understand? Gu Saifeng frowned deeply, about to lecture me further, when Xiao Chen'an appeared outside the schoolhouse. Gu Yao, let's head home. Fourth brother, I called out crisply and headed straight toward him. Xiao Chen'an effortlessly grabbed my pack and gave my head a playful ruffle. Let's go get some roasted chicken legs. Fourth brother is the best to me. It is just a roasted chicken leg. And she is already this happy. Yao is truly shallow-minded, never having seen anything better. Just because he fed her a chicken leg, she's already rushing to call him fourth brother. She affectionately tucked her arm into his and looked at Gu Saifeng with a smile. You brothers used to take me out for roasted chicken and other treats all the time. Gu Saifeng's body stiffened slightly. The three brothers did indeed take Gu Wan out to eat often. As for me, they hadn't taken me out for a single meal my entire life. Seeing his silence, Gu Wan asked, Big brother, what are you thinking about? I was thinking, Yao is a bit different than before. She doesn't cling to us anymore. Perhaps she is trying this method to get big brother's attention, to make you jealous of him. She must still care about you deep down. Otherwise, why would she spend so many days ahead preparing a birthday gift for you? Thinking of the birthday greeting on my desk, Gu Saifeng felt reassured once more. You're right, but this girl is too willful. She has actually learned such low and dirty tactics. I'll make the call. Don't have her come on the day of my birthday, lest she cause trouble again. Over the past few days, I finally finished embroidering that piece. I sent the silk to a shop and asked a craftsman to mount it on a carved rosewood screen. The day before the birthday banquet, I picked up the completed screen from the shop while passing through the bustling market. I heard someone calling to me from a restaurant above. I looked up, and Xiao Chen'an was leaning against the carved window, smiling as he toasted me with his wine cup. Why are you just standing there? Come on up. Inside the restaurant, Gek Saifeng was holding his birthday banquet in a private room opposite Xiao Chen'an. Those invited were all the closest friends of the Gu siblings. The table was lively and boisterous, but for some reason, Gu Saifeng seemed rather distracted. He kept glancing toward the door, as if he were waiting for someone. Eldest brother, this is the birthday gift I prepared for you. Gu Saifeng opened the brocade box. Inside lay a calligraphy brush. It is a brush I made by hand. Do you like it, eldest brother? A thoughtful gesture. Of course I like it. I will certainly use this brush you gave me to write my finest essays. He suddenly paused. Actually, I had given him a brush before, also one I had made myself. Back then, facing my expectant gaze, he said such things were cheap and low quality, and even accused me of having no heart at all. He was lost in his memories, when suddenly someone pushed open the door to the private room. He was lost in his memories when suddenly someone pushed open the door to the private room. I appeared in the doorway holding the screen. The room fell instantly silent. Gu Saifeng stared at me. For some reason, my restless heart suddenly calmed down. Before he could speak, Gu Sile chimed in first. Big brother, didn't you say you didn't invite her? Why did she just show up on her own? I thought since she'd climbed the social ladder to the Prince of Zhenbei's estate, she could really just leave us behind. Look at that. Isn't she here again, currying favor as desperately as ever? I suppose she must have been cast aside by that fourth young master. What a pity, truly a pity. I don't want someone else's leftovers. Since you're already here, then sit down and have a drink, so you can stop claiming we're biased toward Wan Wan. I remained silent. The restaurant's layout was full of twists and turns, and every private room looked identical from the outside. I must have gone to the wrong one. I smiled awkwardly. If I told you I walked into the wrong room, would you even believe me? Yao Yao, when did you get so fond of lying? Big brother has already given you a way out, and you still want to push your luck. Gu Siyun swirled the wine in his glass, curling his lips in a wicked smirk. You even brought a birthday gift, yet you say you aren't here for the banquet? What? Do you need us to beg you humbly? Before you'll start acting sensible. Gu Yao, why don't you look in a mirror? See for yourself if you're even worthy. Realizing I couldn't reason with them, I turned to leave, but Gisele lunged forward in a flash, shoving me into the room. I tumbled to the floor, caught off guard, desperately shielding the screen in my arms. I looked up in resentment. What are you doing? Oh, what kind of precious trinket is this? I want to see for myself. What birthday gift you've prepared for Big Brother? Gisele unwrapped the silk cloth from the outside, revealing an exquisite screen. One look told you a great deal of heart had gone into making it. Gu Saifeng looked somewhat surprised. He stood up and took the screen. Yao Yao, is this the birthday gift you brought for me? Gu Saifeng looked somewhat surprised. He stood up and took the screen. Is this the birthday gift you brought for me? I already said it wasn't for you. Give it back to me. Gisele grabbed my hand as I reached out. Gu Yao, you brought a birthday gift all the way to Big Brother's birthday banquet, and now you're saying it is not for him. There should be a limit to your nonsense. We've been far too indulgent with you in the past. He dragged me, pulling me out of the private room. Since you've delivered the gift, then you can get lost. Don't go ruining Big Brother's banquet again. Let go of me. Give me back my things. I struggled with all my might, my wrist bones aching from his grip. Gu Saifeng sighed. Yao Yao, you are being truly unreasonable. Besides me, who else would you be celebrating? I will accept the gift. I hope you change your attitude in the future and learn from Wan Wan more often. A birthday gift. It is a birthday dedication my eldest brother wrote for grandmother himself. Aren't you afraid of losing your blessings by holding it in your hands? Xiao Chen'an appeared at the entrance of the private room with a group of rakish young men. He stood in a languid posture, impatiently tugging at the gold collar around his neck. Fourth brother. I quickly hid behind Xiao Chen'an. Gu Yao, you are a young lady of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate now. The next time you encounter such ill-mannered trash, just have the estate servants beat them up. There is no need to waste your breath on them. Gisele, having been kicked by him before, was a bit intimidated by him, so he sheepishly retreated to Gu Saifeng's side. Gu Saifeng watched helplessly as Xiao Chen'an's men snatched the screen away, unable to hide his burning shame. He clenched his hands into fists at his sides. He swallowed his pride and bowed to Xiao Chen'an. So that is how it is. I suppose I misunderstood. And you, Yao Yao, why didn't you mention something this important earlier? It turned into quite the farce. I've already said it many times. You just didn't believe me. A sudden sound of shattering glass came from the room. A sudden sound of shattering glass came from the room. Gu Siyun smashed a cup and glared at me, speaking every word with venom. Apologize to your eldest brother. Gu Siyun was a two-faced hypocrite, prone to cruel and unpredictable moods. I used to be terrified of him. Gu Siyun had an excessively fragile ego. In my past life, when he entered business, he couldn't swallow his pride. To win his favor in that life, I didn't just demean myself to drum up business for him. I even drank until my stomach cramped at dinner parties. Yet he sneered that I smelled of money and was hopelessly common, not like my sister who was like the moon in the sky, untouched by the dust of the world. Looking back on those days, I want to slap myself twice, meeting Gu Siyun's icy gaze. Why should I apologize? You humiliated your eldest brother in front of outsiders and nearly ruined his birthday banquet. Don't you know that at a dinner table, a man's face is all that matters? Before I could reply, Xiao Chen'an let out a mocking laugh. I've only heard of a man earning his own respect, never of it being earned by a woman. The upbringing of the Jiu family is truly extraordinary. Gu Siyun's expression looked as if a painter's palette had been spilled across his face. His face and dignity felt like a shoe pad being trampled into the dirt, leaving him unable to even lift his head. He glared at me with pure venom. Are you really not going to apologize to your eldest brother? I did nothing wrong. Why should I apologize to him? Fourth brother, let's go. After we left, Gisele complained indignantly. I knew nothing good would come from that jinx showing up. Gu Saifeng has lost all face. Let's end today's birthday banquet right here. Yao Yao has gone too far. It is just that the people at the Prince Zhenbei's estate don't know her true colors yet, which is why they dote on her. Just wait and see. Sooner or later, she'll be kicked out for good. Let's see how arrogant she can be then. Gu Wan sipped her wine. Tomorrow is the old princess's 60th birthday. She remembered that in her past life, Xiao Chen'an had his leg broken by a falling beam before this. So why does he seem completely unscathed today? Could it be that she isn't the only one who was reborn? Could Gu Yao be another? Could it be that she isn't the only one who was reborn? Could Gu Yao be another? It seems she must find a chance to confirm it, since tomorrow happens to be the old princess's 60th birthday. Why don't we go to the estate and join the festivities? The Prince of Zhenbei dotes on mother, so for her sake, He will surely let us in. Gi Silai replied with disdain. Why would we go to that place where they look down on everyone? I'm not going. Third brother, we aren't going. Then how are we supposed to expose Gu Yao's true colors? Does second brother mean? You know exactly what I mean. Besides, we are all far more likable than Gu Yao, especially Wan. If we go to the prince's estate, we will certainly win the old princess's favor, making the people at the estate completely loathe Gu Yao. Today is the day of the old princess's birthday banquet. Xiao Chen'an and the others, halfway there, had already changed into their lion dance costumes. He tossed a large embroidered ball to me. I walked toward the front courtyard with them. All the guests have arrived, and they are all waiting for you to warm up the crowd. Grandmother doesn't even know this is your birthday gift, and she even asked me why you hadn't arrived yet. Passing through the corridor, the large embroidered ball in my arms accidentally rolled away. I hurried forward to pick it up, only to see the embroidered ball roll beside a pair of gold embroidered boots. I looked up and found Xiao Yanzhi standing under the corridor with his hands behind his back. Xiao Chen'an coughed lightly, and they lowered their heads, bowing in unison. Greetings, my lord heir. I lowered my head and curtsied. Greetings, your grace. Xiao Yanzhi's gaze shifted to me. In my hair, I was still wearing the silver butterfly hairpin that Xiao Chen'an had given me. He reached out and snapped a peach blossom branch, poking into the corridor. Miss Gi Yu, are you not aware that men and women should not share the same seat after the age of 6? To be frolicking with men in broad daylight, what kind of behavior is this? It is not like that. I was the one who asked Gu Yao to meet us. The other young men chimed in, explaining all at once. That is right, Sister Goe never hangs out with us. We only occasionally run into each other at the academy and exchange a few words. Besides, we only talk to Sister Ge when Chen'an is present. We have never acted improperly toward her. I clutched the embroidered ball tightly. I know Xiao Yanzhi has never liked me or my mother, but to make an issue out of our gender is being needlessly cruel. It is because I helped them at the Golden Flavor restaurant that they treat me like a younger sister. As the saying goes, what lies in one's heart is what one sees in others. Since the heir chooses to speculate this way, I wonder what kind of heart he harbors. Xiao Yanzhi had never been talked back to like this before. He lifted his chin, his brow furrowing, and a fierce chill flashed through his dark eyes. Xiao Chen'an saw this and knew it was a sign that his older brother was about to lose his temper, just as he was about to smooth things over. Gu Yao, you are being completely outrageous. How could you talk back to the heir? Everyone looked over to see the 4 Gu siblings. Yao, it was one thing to be disrespectful at home, but now that you're in someone else's estate, how are you still so lacking in manners? Why are you people everywhere? You're like haunting spirits. And what do you mean by someone else's residence? Gu Yao is my sister. This is her home. So what if she talks back to her brothers at home? Since when is it your place as outsiders to point fingers? Gu Wan's gaze subtly swept over Xiao Yanzhi. Based on her experience, she could bribe Xiao Chen'an, but she could never bribe Xiao Yanzhi. Recalling her past life, Gu Wan couldn't help but tighten her grip on her handkerchief. In her past life, it was actually because of Xiao Yanzhi's bed that she was married off to a lowly clerk. Gu Wan stepped forward and bowed to Xiao Yanzhi. My sister has been spoiled since childhood, so she is mischievous and ignorant. On her behalf, I apologize to you. Xiao Yanzhi looked down from above. What surfaced in his mind was the conversation between the Gu siblings at the jewelry shop that day. You ungrateful wretch. It is a shame our family raised you for over a decade. Gu Yao, if you have any guts, never come back to the Gu Yu family. We don't want you as our sister anymore. Yet the young girl listened silently to these heart-piercing words from her own kin, her face showing a calmness beyond her years, as if she had heard these things 1,000 times before. I was unaware that the eldest Miss Gu was so fond of involving herself in the internal affairs of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate. Gu Wan's expression stiffened. She looked at him in disbelief. He said Gu Yao's business was his family's business. Was he indirectly acknowledging that Gu Yao was his sister? It is all right, Wan. The banquet is about to begin. Let's go inside. With reddened eyes, Gu double-lowered her head and obediently followed them away. Once Xiao Yanzhi and the others were out of sight, Gu Siyun chuckled. I told you that girl is scheming and manipulative. Hasn't she managed to manipulate the Xiao family now? It is a pity that lies and deceit can only fool people for a while, but not for a lifetime. As time passes, they will naturally come to know her true colors. Second brother is right. Only a lady like Wan is a truly good lady. In any case, I will only ever acknowledge Wan as my sister for the rest of my life. I don't even know when it started, but Yao has ended up living like this, in my opinion. Aside from Xiao Yanzhi having some capability, the other young masters of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate are just gold on the outside, but rot on the inside. They are nowhere near as promising as we three brothers. I fear Yao will have plenty to regret in the future. In the corridor, I performed a respectful curtsy. My thanks to you, Heir Apparent, for speaking up on my behalf. You misunderstand, Lady Gu. I was merely upholding the reputation of the Prince of Zhenbei's estate. Just as I was about to leave, Xiao Yanzhi added suddenly, I once thought you were greedy for wealth and clung to power. Having dealt with your sister today, I realize she is even more adept at that than you. Xiao Yanzhi tucked a peach blossom into my hair. The action looked effortless, but his words were far from pleasant. Given your sister's schemes and how highly she is regarded in your family, her entering the prince's estate with your mother would be as easy as turning over a hand. She surely must have yearned for the prosperity of the prince's estate herself. So, may I ask you, Lady Gu, why it was you who ended up coming to the estate instead? The spring breeze brushed against my face. Yet in this warm spring day, I felt a chill. Getting to the bottom of things was always his specialty, but I couldn't exactly tell him that my sister had lived a second life, and thus didn't want to repeat the same mistakes, could I? The Heir Apparent has performed great military exploits on the battlefield, receiving honors from the imperial court, and serves as the Southwestern Military Commissioner. He is truly powerful, with eyes and ears everywhere. Yet, ever since I entered the estate, the Heir Apparent seems to take particular pleasure in making things difficult for me. How is it that a small, weak woman like Yao could be more fearsome than thousands of enemy troops to warrant such guard from the Heir Apparent? Without waiting for him to speak, I bowed in courtesy and headed straight for the front courtyard. In the front courtyard, the Grand Dowager sat in the center. The second young master, Xiao Chen'an, had also returned. The third young master, however, was nowhere to be found. Maids moved about, serving delicacies and fine wine. Laughter and joy filled the air. Why are the fourth and Yao not here? Just as the words fell, the Gu siblings stepped forward to offer their respectful greetings. The Grand Dowager was puzzled. Who are these children? Mother, these are the children Xiao Chen'an had at the Gu residence. We heard it was your birthday today and came especially to celebrate with you. They are such filial good children. You are very thoughtful. Gu Wan also spoke in a soft voice, reporting to the Grand Dowager. My brothers and I have prepared a birthday gift for you. This screen, carved from premium golden Nanmu wood, was something Gu Wan and the three Gu brothers had spent all their savings on just last night. Hearing the praise from those around her, she couldn't help but smile. The gift I brought was also a screen, but it was neither as costly nor as exquisite as hers. She deliberately gave hers before I could give mine, so that when the Grand Dowager sees my screen later, the difference will be immediately apparent. This would make the old woman suspicious, thinking I didn't value her 60th birthday. The Grand Dowager had always been fond of children, and she didn't despise or dislike the Gu siblings, just because they were the princess consort's children from her former marriage. Such good children. You shouldn't have spent so much. Clutching the red envelopes rewarded by the old lady, the Gu siblings, knowing they were filled with banknotes, beamed with joy. As they spoke, they became even more humble and tame. Gu Wan spoke up again. Then, oh, why haven't we seen Yao yet? Gu Wan spoke up again then. Oh, why haven't we seen Yao yet? On such an important day. Could she have gone off to play again? Your Highness, you may not be aware. Gu Yao is quite the restless spirit. Back when it was my father's birthday, she suddenly vanished without a trace, which gave us such a terrible scare. It wasn't until we returned home that we learned she had actually gone off to play with the neighbor's children. She is simply so immature. The Empress Dowager's eyes flickered slightly. Is that so? I have always found Yao to be a very well-behaved child. Well-behaved hardly. Gu Silai was about to say more when the thunderous sound of drums suddenly erupted. 6 vibrant, festive, and colorful lion dance costumes marched with imposing grace, drawing the curious gazes of the crowd, and stepped into the garden with high-spirited pride. The Empress Dowager asked curiously, "What is the meaning of this?" "It is a lion dance that the fourth brother specially arranged for you, grandmother." As he spoke, his gaze fell further into the distance. "Why is there an extra lion?" Xiao Jingchen sipped his wine and looked left and right. "Big brother, where is little sister Yao?" Xiao Yanzhi did not answer him. Suddenly, a peach blossom fell from inside the pink lion's head. It was the very blossom he had stuck onto Gu Yao's costume. Thinking of something, he raised his eyebrows almost imperceptibly. The pink lion and the green lion pulled apart a large red silk banner, on which was written in bold, sweeping calligraphy, "May grandmother live as long as the eastern sea and the southern mountains." The surrounding air was suddenly filled with deafening applause. The Empress Dowager stood up, moved with emotion, and stepped forward leaning on her dragon-headed staff. Xiao Chen'an and I removed our lion heads and bowed. "May grandmother live as long as the eastern sea and the southern mountains." The Empress Dowager's eyes grew red, and she pulled each of us in with a loving embrace. Xiao Chen'an and I exchanged a smile. The Empress Dowager asked Xiao Si with a smile, "Tell me, did those two children not dance beautifully?" "Very beautifully, exceptionally so." "And what do you think, Yanzhi?" Xiao Yanzhi took a sip of his wine, his gaze sweeping over Gu Yao, whose hair was slightly disheveled. Her round little face is flushed red, like a young green and red apple. He withdrew his gaze. "It is quite good." I looked at him in surprise. I never expected him to praise us. At the neighboring table, Gu Wan bit her lip, seeing that the Grand Dowager actually invited me to sit by her side, and was even going to introduce me to the noble ladies at the banquet. She couldn't help but clench her handkerchief tightly. This girl didn't even bring a decorative screen after all. Wan, we cannot let this girl steal your spotlight. Things like lion dancing are vulgar and crude, hardly fit for an elegant gathering. Why don't you perform the startled swan dance for the Grand Dowager right now? Let her see what a true noble lady looks like." Gu Wan was startled. I had just finished my performance. For her to rush up to perform now, what would that look like? Those who don't know might think she is intentionally stealing her own sister's spotlight. Besides, the startled swan dance isn't even suitable for this occasion. My third brother is all brawn and no brain. He is truly too foolish. Just as she was about to refuse, Xiao Jingshen suddenly spoke up with a smile. "Grandmother, your grandson just heard that the eldest daughter of the Gu family wants to perform for you." Gu Wan trembled all over. Gu Salei excitedly nudged her. Wan, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and dance for the Grand Dowager. Everyone is waiting." Forced into a corner, Gu Wan had no choice but to get up. She began the startled swan dance on the open floor, but the dance was clearly ill-suited for a birthday banquet. As a result, the noble ladies and guests present looked on with disdain. However, some unsavory men kept glancing her way. Even from a distance, Gu Wan could still feel those disgusting gazes. Finally finishing the dance, there was no applause to be heard in the garden, only a few scattered mocking titters. Gu Wan's face turned beet red. She walked back to her seat, feeling wrong. Wan, you danced beautifully. I was absolutely stunned just now." "That is right, Wan. I reckon that from today on, many noble sons will be swooning over you." Gu Wan hung her head, her eyes gradually turning red and moist. These two brothers are as thick-headed as pigs. Did they not notice that all the men looking at her were nothing but unlearned playboys, unable to bear such humiliation any longer? She burst into tears and ran away. The commotion drew the attention of the Dowager and the others. Xiao Jingchen smiled while shelling a crab. She was the one who insisted on dancing, and now she is the one crying. Coming to grandmother's 60th birthday just to cry. It is quite a bad omen. The Dowager also looked displeased. Xiao Xiao felt somewhat awkward as well, and waved his hand to command the guards. "Escort these honorable guests from the Gu family out, and see to it that they are not welcome back to the manor." Gu Saifeng and the others tried to protest, but were unceremoniously carried away by the guards, leaving them to the scornful gazes of the entire assembly. From then on, I studied harder at the White Crane Academy, ranking at the top of my class in every exam. Even the teachers praised my intelligence and resilience. The Dowager treated me as if I were her own, often calling me to stay by her side. The brothers in the manor all accepted me as their sister. Xiao Chen'an even pestered me daily to study and play with him. Without the support of the prince's manor, my family did not rise to prosperity 3 years later. Gu Saifeng and his brothers found no success in their careers, and Gu Wan failed to become the crown princess as she had hoped, eventually marrying into an ordinary family, struggling daily with the mundane chores of life. As for me, I finally found the peace and stability I had longed for, here in the Prince of Zhenbei's manor. I have escaped the quagmire of the past, and finally become the person I always wanted to be.